Today we're going through the radical perspective of the law that Jesus is presenting in Matthew 5:17 to 20. We call it Decoding Jesus View on the Eternal Law. So what about the law of Moses? In the passage Matthew 5:17 to 20, Jesus, he kind of strongly affirms the timeless relevance of Moses' law, and he emphasized that not the smallest detail will be disregarded. And he kind of makes it clear that the law, it really endures. It will stay there forever, not a iota, not a single dot will disappear. However, it's a little bit complicated because this has led to debate among scholars, because it seems to be a tension between what Jesus is saying here, that the law of Moses is important and that it will remain, Moses' law about fasting and and with Paul on the other side, which emphasized that faith in Jesus, it was what really matters for righteousness. Look at, for example, you have Romans chapter 10 and verse 14, so on. So there's been different suggestions how to kind of resolve this. And one would be that this saying might not come from Jesus but from an early group of Christians before the canonical Gospels and so on. I think this is just bull. We can be certain that this come from Jesus. We believe in the Bible in that sense. Matthew, he included this text, this teaching, to offer a complete view on Jesus' teaching. Now Luke, on the other hand, presents a similar concept in a slightly varied form, and Luke possibly was drawing from other sources. We know, however, that before the Gospels, Matthew and Luke and so on was composed, there were circulating compositions of Jesus' sayings and so on. So Jesus didn't just accept the traditional law interpretation in his time, but he challenged his religious norms, especially those from the Pharisees and the scribes and so on. They have their norms, and Jesus would just go right at them and challenge it and put them in another way. So he believed that their interpretation of the law, the Pharisees and so on, just put burden on the people with complex rules that they had to follow without really getting to the intention of the law of Moses, the law of God, which he had given to the people. So instead, Jesus stresses the fulfilling the law's purpose, not the law, the kind of regulations itself, but the purpose, kind of getting to the main issue and applying various aspects, like the Sabbath, for example, or the marriage laws in this sense. For him, for Jesus, not for the Pharisees, but for Jesus, this meant understanding the law's intent, not just following strict rules. Furthermore, Jesus highlighted that true obedience, it begins from the heart. It is not just about following the law externally, but aligning my own thoughts and my own intention with God's will. This is what the law is about, really. So, in Jesus' teachings, Jesus valued kind of this inner spiritual aspects over the external rituals, emphasizing just justice, mercy, faithfulness, rather than just being religious to its core and so. So I was thinking also how to show this and how to give kind of a modern example so that you can more easily kind of grasp it and understand what he's doing when he's saying that this law is an eternal one, it will not disappear, and not a iota will disappear, and so on. So imagine now that you are in a city, and this city has strict traffic laws, including a speed limit with 90 or 70 kilometers per hour. You can just drive 70 kilometers per hour on this particular road. So, for you that are counting with miles per hour, I'm sorry, I have no idea what that would be. But this city installed the speed camera to enforce this limit rigorously, and so on. So, then we have two groups. We have those that follow the letter of the law, and we have those that follow the spirit of the law. The letter and the spirit of the law. So many drivers in this city, they adhere to the letter of the law, and they drive exactly just 70 kilometers per hour, no more, no less. and they do this simply just to avoid getting tickets, and avoid getting penalties. So this is their thinking. And then we have the other group. This is not those that follow the letter of the law, but rather those that follow the spirit of the law. Okay, so they have a different approach, and they understand that the speed limit is there for a specific purpose, for safety. The purpose of the speed limit is safety, particularly when there is kind of several sharp turns and when there are residential areas. So instead of fixing on the exact number, 70 kilometers per hour, they adjust the speed according to the conditions. And that means sometimes they go slightly under also, maybe 40 kilometers, 50 kilometers per hour when there are slight sharp turns, where there are houses, residential areas, and when it's just straight road without any hindrance, they can go above it also. So you see the difference. While both group technically follow the speed limit, the letter of the law, and the second group aligning with the spirit of the law, which is to ensure safety. So they follow it, but kind of in different matters. The context of Jesus' teaching, though, we have the same two groups. The first groups represent those that just regularly follow religious rules without considering the deepest principles of love, compassion, mercy, forgiveness, and they may appear righteous, my friend, on the surface, but they lack actually the inner transformation and the understanding of the law's true purpose. And then we had the second group, and they try to embody Jesus' message. They prioritize inner values and strive to live out the principles of justice, peace, mercy, faithfulness. And they understand, that the law is a guide to righteous living, and they try to align their hearts and their action with this intent purpose. So I just want to give this to you today. I hope that you will have opportunities to practice this and to really seek to transform your heart and your thoughts to the purposes of God. I'll see you later. So Jesus and the eternal law, yes, it will last, but not in the sense that the religious Pharisees had in mind.